Hello, everybody. It's Vicki Lee. If you like my speaking, please like, share, and subscribe. We have been doing a series called When the Righteous Fall, and we have been taken. Keep saying, let me back up here. I keep saying we have superstars in the Bible, the righteous, and we think, well, they can do no wrong, but they do, and they make mistakes and they fall and they had to get back up. And what they did affected other people. And so we think so highly of them that when we go through and sometimes the people speak or whatever happens, we have a tendency to criticize those who spoke out or criticized the righteous. And I'm going back through those misnomers and pointing out what happened and defending the people who maybe got caught in the righteous crossfire. So, we're going to include this next story in this. There wasn't really a righteous person that did this person wrong, but I still think this person in the Bible was a lot more righteous than we think. And I hear this woman criticized all the time. I have said I am going to write a book called The Case for the Woman at the Well. And if you go back early on in my speakings, when I started this channel, I did a speaking on the term baggage and how we look at people and we say they have baggage. And so if you go back, I talk a lot about the woman at the well and what happened there. So you can glean from that as well. But we're going to kind of do a little shorter version today and talk about this woman and how I think she was so righteous and she was so walked on. I get this because I can relate so much to her story. So here we go. We're going to go to John 4, and we're going to start in chapter 4 and read through. So stay with me as we read these scriptures. Now, Jesus had to go to Samaria. So he came to a town in Samaria called Sychar near the plot of ground Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired as he was from the journey, sat down by the well. It was about noon. When a Samaritan woman came to draw water, Jesus said, "Will you give me a drink?" The Samaritan woman said to him, "You're a Jew and I'm a Samaritan woman. How can you ask me for a drink?" For Jews did not associate with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that asks you for a drink, you would have asked him and he would have given you living water." "Sir," the woman said, you are nothing to draw, and the well is deep. Where can you get this living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob, who gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did also his sons and livestock?" Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks the water I give them will never thirst. Indeed, the water I give them will become in them a spring of water welling up in eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so I won't get thirsty and have to keep coming here to draw water." He told her, "Go call your husband and come back." She said, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right when you say you have no husband. The fact is, you have had five husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. What you have just said is quite true." "Sir," she said, "I can see you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you Jews claim that the place where we must worship is Jerusalem." "Woman," Jesus replied, "believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for they are the kind of worshipers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshipers must worship in the spirit and in truth." The woman said, "I know that Messiah, called Christ, is coming. When he comes, he will explain everything to you." Jesus declared, "I, the one speaking to you, I am he." She winds up leaving the well with Christ, and she winds up going back and becoming the evangelist for the Samaritan people. As always, I'm going to give you the backdrop so that you can understand this story. We read a chapter and we make assumptions, and those assumptions are ill informed. So I'm going to defend the woman at the well. When I get to heaven, I'm going to worship at the feet of Christ for a million years. And then the first person I want to go talk to is the woman at the well. I understand her story and I understand how people don't understand and they label you with baggage. In this day and age, early in the morning, the women all went together to gather the water from the well. She's there in the noonday heat by herself. This woman, he says to her, bring your husband and bring him to me. And she said, I don't have a husband. She's not a liar. This woman is honest. She doesn't know she's talking to Jesus Christ. He's just a stranger. But when he asked her, she says, I don't have a husband. And he said, you've had five husbands, and the man you're with is not your husband. And that just blows everybody's light bulbs. Oh, she is just trash. She is just maligned to this day. This poor woman can't get a break anywhere. And so let's talk about the culture that she lives in. In this culture, a man can divorce his wife without any reason at this time. All the man has to do with his wife is take her to the town square and say, I divorce you. He can be eyeing another woman. He can be just mean. He can be abusive for any reason. He can give her a divorce at this time. And then she is just left to flounder because women did not have economic rights. You had some women culturally who did well at that time. They were usually the exception to the rule. And in the Middle East today, women don't always have rights. And in the Middle East today, there are burqas and women have no rights, and husbands can do whatever they want. So, this is very important. In this day and age, at the same time in Jesus' ministry, there is a woman who is an adulteress. She's having an affair, and they catch this woman having sex with a man. Instead of bringing the couple out to stone them, they just brought the woman. The man they let go. That's important to note for what the culture and the take a temperature of that. So Jesus tells them he is without who is without sin cast the first stone, and he writes in the sand probably the sins of all these people holding the stones. And as he's writing, he's outing all of them, and they just very quietly leave. And he says to the woman, "Go and sin no more." The woman at the well has had been married five times, and five times men have divorced her. And I have heard her talked about as if she's adulterous. But yet, in that era, in that time, if you were adulterous, they would stone you. They were trying to stone the woman. Jesus' ministry was only 3 years long. They're trying to stone this other woman, but yet the woman at the well has never been stoned. Think about that. The woman at the well is not lying to Jesus. She's telling him, I don't have a husband. This woman had five men who just brutally took her to the town square and said, I'm dumping you. Then she married again. She has no economic rights. You needed to be married to make ends meet. And five men have brutally taken her to the town square and just dumped her off. And yet she's not stoned. She's alive and well. So the names that we call her does not bear weight for the culture at that time. What are we doing? What are we saying about this woman? What were they saying about this woman? The Samaritans were half Jew and half another tribe that had taken over Israel historically, and they were brutal. But some of the Jewish people had intermarried into that brutal tribe, and so they were cast aside. The Jews said to the Samaritans, you're half breeds. You're descendants did this, and because your descendants did this, we don't want anything to do with you. So we're just going to throw you away. And they would not allow the Samaritans to come worship at the temple in Jerusalem. Now, is that cruel or not? They wouldn't allow them to. And the Samaritans tried to build their own temple, and the Jews came and destroyed it. So this culture is a throwaway culture, and this woman is an outcast from a throwaway culture. She's walking by herself. Where is her sister, her cousin, her mother, her children, her friends? Where is anybody in that culture? And whenever Jews went to travel, they would not set foot on Samaritan soil. They would go the long way around the international line to keep from having to mingle with these half breeds. See, that's the labeling that we do with each other, the half breeds. And so she's the throwaway of the throwaway. But yet Christ goes into Samaria and he sits at that well and he waits for her. See, she was his choice for ministry. Why was she his choice? I'm going to submit that she was the one person who saw it all very, very clearly. She saw the truth of the matter very, very clearly because she was being brutalized and thrown away. Furthermore, in Malachi, God gives a symbolic divorce to Israel. As we look back, we're in the church age now. We have the completed Bible, the completed scriptures. And in Malachi, God was symbolically and spiritually married to Israel. And he said, I gave Israel a divorce. One of the reasons that he gives for that divorce in Malachi is because of the treatment of the wives from their husbands. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. The men were being brutal to their wives and just throwing them away at the town square. I submit that this woman was just abandoned and abused and labeled to this day by us because we look at this and we don't have the backdrop. We don't think it through. So I want to go see her. She knows I have defended her. And by the grace of God, I will write that book, The Case for the Woman at the Well, and speak into it on her behalf. She's brave. She's very defensive. Can you blame her? And Christ speaks to her and turns her whole life around. And she goes back to the town and she says, he told me everything I've ever done. Now we take and we run with that. Up, see, there it is. Guilty as charged. And we assign baggage to her, and we don't know what that is. We assign baggage to her that if she were guilty of that, she would have been stoned. They've thrown her away, they've abandoned her. Don't you think if they had cause to stone her, they would have to get her out of their hair? So, the righteous, those who were supposed to be righteous, fell and left her in the lurch. The Jews threw that culture away. No, you can't. Oh, you're pagan. You're pagan, but you can't come to our temple and worship with us. You can't build your own. We're going to leave you without, and you'll never have it. So the Jews were supposed to be God's righteous. So the righteous have fallen. When you are her husband, you're supposed to be righteous to her. When you're her mother, her friend, her cousin, her sister, you're supposed to be righteous to another human being. So the righteous fell, and God said, I choose you. Let me say that again. He said to that woman, I choose you to head up this ministry, to be the evangelist, to go speak Christ. And when she ran back to that town and she was elated and full of joy, still trying, I think, to absorb that she had seen the Son of God in the flesh, the Messiah had come and sat with her. The Bible is just too beautiful for words. The Trinity gets it. And the Trinity, I said it in one of my other speakings with Abraham. They're on the cleanup crew. He's sitting there, Christ is on the cleanup crew to speak back in and to fill her where she had just been left desolate. And so for the woman at the well, I think about you and I defend you and I will see you in heaven. If you don't have Jesus Christ, believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and you shall be saved because he sees you. Are you abandoned? Are you a throwaway? Have you made mistakes? Do you feel like you're not redeemable? God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten Son, his only Son, so that whoever believed on him should not perish but have everlasting life. And he sent him not to condemn you, but that through him you might be saved. It was a saving grace for the woman at the well. It can be for you too. I hope this helps and gives clarity to everybody. My name is Vicki Lee. If you like my speaking, please like, share, and subscribe. I hope you have a wonderful day.